Peacemaker mode. Welcome everybody back to the channel. If you are watching this with just the Peacemaker portion, this is a portion of our bigger show that we do most Wednesdays. Definitely when a huge show like Peacemaker is on, we like to get on and talk about it all the time. But this is a part of our bigger show called Planet Film Live, as you can see at the top there. But for everybody joining us live, we are about to dive into talking about Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 2. So yeah, let's just go ahead and dive in. We're going to talk a little non-spoiler, and then we're going to talk mostly spoilers towards the end. TJ, Episode 2, Season 2, Episode 2. What were your initial thoughts? A man is only as good as his bird.
Yeah, that was a solid episode. I like to see a little bit more Rick Flag Sr. in the beginning. I thought that was really good to see.
Yeah.
I thought getting the whole kind of band back together in one place was a good sign. I love seeing them all together and interact. They all kind of had their little moments, I would say, which I thought was really cool to see. I thought that Eagly fight scene was awesome. And I liked Tim Meadows. I just think at some point, like, you can tell too many jokes where it's like, okay, like we're just telling jokes now to tell jokes. Like, it's got to be like, it's got to come naturally. And like a lot of what he was saying at points just did not feel, especially when he was talking to Economos.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like, can we just like move on? Like, I get it. He's being funny, but like, I'm not laughing. So let's just keep going. So that was probably my like only really real gripe, I guess, of the episode. And I thought the end left us in a really interesting place. I kind of rethought my predictions from last week, but I also am like, oh, it's still possible. You know, basically what I said, I was like, I think the other universe, I think his dad and his brother, I think they could still very well be evil. Like, it's not like a done deal. Like, just because his suit's blue doesn't mean he's not still like a racist, terrible person or anything like that. It's just he's rocking a different color.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I had a good time with this episode.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode as it from its story standpoint and from kind of the transitional episode that it shows that kind of Chris, and I think in this great scene with everybody, that Chris is both at the same time the glue of this group and also feels like he's simultaneously not worthy of having a friend group like this, and also that he expects more from them. And I think that is like a great way to kind of transition us to this point at the end of the episode where Harcourt has kind of, because she's going through her own stuff, obviously, which we've been dealing with this season so far, is, I think that getting him to the point where he is ready to, James Gunn in that, I don't know if you've been watching the Peacemaker podcast that they do after this, but it's really, really interesting stuff. It's basically just like any of the HBO after shows, but a full like 50-minute sit down. And it's always James Gunn, Steve Agee, Jennifer Holland, and then one other star that rotates or one other, or sometimes they'll have even because they did it for season 1, they went back like about a month ago and they started doing episodes for the season 1 episodes recorded now, like looking back. And they even had a couple of the directors of photography and there's a couple of the cinematographers for the first season on there. But yeah, James Gunn, or I think actually it was Jennifer Holland who described that last shot of Chris sitting there with the text on the phone that he's like, the shot of his shoulders is him like settling into the universe, that it's like it's to show the audience that like he's not running back out this time. He's staying here. And I think all of that was really, really interesting and really fun to watch. And I liked Tim Meadows and I liked the idea of this kind of bumbling level of Argus team before probably Rick Flag has to step in himself in later episodes. But I will say, I think I never even finished Creature Commandos, and I
Oh,
know
really?
that I had like 2 episodes left.
Oh,
Which I'm just like, oh, I'll go back and watch. But I know what
yeah.
happened because I've watched so many, explainer videos and stuff like that, whatever. Because I'll tell you why in a second. It just didn't have the like. It felt almost like a diet Dr. Pepper Suicide Squad. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And I know
Yeah.
that partially that's the intent
Intention.
is
Yeah.
is that this is Task Force M for Monster instead of X for X-Con or whatever. But some of the dialogue just felt a little stilted to me in that show, and I gotta say I had this horrible pain in my chest that I had that same feeling watching this episode. And
Yeah.
I was like, and I'll tell you what, it's not even the Tim Meadows stuff, which to
Yeah.
me also got a little like it was
Like
kind of like
specifically
yeah,
for just real quick for
no,
me
go for
when
it.
they're in the truck and
Yeah, when he's eating
they're
the
talking about
nuggets and
Pokemon,
stuff.
and he's like, "Well, you were learning that. I had these 2 bitches
Yeah.
sucking my dick." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Like it's like
Um
I didn't need that.
yeah, and I want to point out I'm sorry, is it Wakas or
I
Wakis?
think so. Yeah.
Khan watching right now said, "Love the episode. John Cena has improved a lot in terms of his acting." Well, if you want to, you can go ahead and click the link in the chat. You can call in with your audio only and let us know your quick about a minute. We'll let you go on about your thoughts about this episode in more detail if you'd like. And then we'll discuss your thoughts right after it if you want to click that link there. But I agree with you. I mean, like I just said, the dialogue is not the acting. And even that being said, the dialogue to me wasn't like that even throughout the entire episode, but it was that Tim Meadows moment in the truck with Economos. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what it was Chris and Adebayo on the steps outside of his house
Yeah.
when he said, just 40 of us freaking going and doing a little dance number
Yes.
and you're the king of good conversations.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
what are we doing?
It sounded like one of those
I was
things.
like, is this an outtake?
I really shouldn't say this because it makes me sound like I'm like 15 years old or something, but it sounded like one of those like things that somebody posts in a top 5 cringiest moments on TikTok where it's like a moment captured on video by some high schooler. And it's like, look how stupid this guy sounds or something like that. That's exactly what that sounded like. And I completely agree. Like, it was like, okay, let's just keep going. Like, just stop talking.
Yeah. It's like you're shining too much of a light on it. You know what I mean? And it's
Right,
like,
yeah.
ideally, I think, because I think it's no doubt my brain is gonna bing bing. It's about to zigzag real hard, but I'm gonna get back to it. A big issue is that people are like, Kevin Feige's stretched too thin. He can't be on set every day. Ideally, Peter Safran and James Gunn should never see each other. Because if James is filming Superman, Peter Safran should not be on set of Superman. He should be on set of Peacemaker.
Yeah.
If James Gunn is on set of Lanterns, then Peter Safran should be on the set of Supergirl. You know what I'm saying? They need to keep a watchful eye on everything. And honestly, to me, I think what this episode felt like, and again, I liked the episode. I probably even loved the episode just because everything we got with all these characters, I could just watch an episode. I could watch 10 hours of this quality episode with these people. I'd be perfectly happy. And I would go, okay, that was a little disappointing for an HBO show and what I'm used to from James Gunn. But I still, enjoyed it. I know that the broader internet would probably not be happy, but I would still enjoy it. But my point being, this episode felt a little bit like the inmates were running the asylum. It felt a little like, okay, are we just rolling the camera and having some fun? Or are we like, like what's going on? But then also, like you said, excellent moments right at the start with the flashbacks to the Suicide Squad, with Rick Flag Sr. reading out the report. I thought the walk and talk, which I know you're a big fan of the Aaron Sorkin walk and talk, the little walk and talk with Economos and Flag at the beginning, I thought gave us some good exposition to get us caught up with kind of how the transition happened at Argus that we talked about a little last week. And I just thought it was some really fun, light banter between those two guys. That I would have liked to see that lightness with the Tim Meadows scene, but I feel like partially to James Gunn and to a lot of people and to even me for most of the jokes. I think what makes Tim Meadows funny in this is that he's so like heavy with his humor. He like says something and then makes you sit in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you can only sit in that for too much time.
Yeah.
Another thing, and then I'll throw it back to you for whatever you want to do. We don't have to talk about Tim Meadows the whole time, but obviously he's a huge new character on the show, so we're going to talk about him a decent amount. What I thought actually really worked for me was the nickname scene, and I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, it was a little cringy and over the top," but and somebody was like, "That should have been in like a Predator movie," and I'm like, "Yeah, I feel like that kind of worked for me. That it's like they're just going to look in this guy's closet, but he's like, listen, if things get crazy out there, you're this. I need you to have my back." Like, like I thought that was funny, but the Economos, I thought it dragged too.
I thought that and the kind of preceding scene before that when they're waiting to go in the house when he's leaving and he's like, "Oh, they might come back," and then they go on this whole freaking thing about like, what is a housewarming gift and when do you bring a housewarming gift, and it's some of those things where it's like you should have like maybe you could have left the joke like 10 seconds earlier. Like, it's sometimes it's specifically this episode, I feel like is what it's suffering is like some things just go on for way too long. Like as far as joke wise, it's just like you're okay. Like, and I know a lot of people have this complaint with just James Gunn humor in general. It's like it can just overtake you and overtake whatever you're watching. And you're like, okay, I need something other than this.
It can overpower the meal.
Exactly. And I think that's what kind of happened in this episode. And I think we're kind of moved on to spoilers and stuff. And this isn't really a spoiler, but a very stupid nitpick that I had. So if you watch the first episode, spoiler, Chris kills himself from the other dimension. In this episode, he takes his phone. Now, what I did like is when he tried to text Harcourt from that universe.
It didn't go through.
It doesn't go through. But something that really annoyed me is when he went to go text her, there was no messages ever before. That was the first message ever. I was like, that's not. I was like, no. That's not what happened. Okay, like where are the text messages before whatever happened with that universe? That universe's couple. That's just something that really irked me, and I was like, that's just not like, just put something in there, like something.
You know what I would have done? As I'm not saying I'm smarter than James Gunn, I would have made it an Apple Watch,
or that
because then he can text her that. Because then it's like, maybe he doesn't find Peacemaker's phone, but maybe he's wearing a smartwatch. And maybe that, because then it's like, okay, he can still look through the contacts. He can still type out the text. He can still see the typing. He can still get the text in. But you would believe it that there's not this huge, because I can understand from a practical standpoint. You're like, well, if there was this huge backlog of texts, what's going to make more sense to the audience that he wouldn't text her first. He would sit there and read everything.
Right, exactly.
But it's like, but I understand it's like, well, that doesn't work for the pace of the story that they're trying to tell. But that's why I'm saying then the workaround could be just have it be a smartwatch. So you're not looking at the long thing. You're just using it as,
and they make it a point to show him go into the contacts, find her contact, click the message. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there like, oh, there's going to be this whole block of text and it's just blank. I'm like, okay, well, that's not what would happen. Let's be honest here. But yeah, like I know, just one other quick thing, the Eagly scene, which we didn't really touch on. I know that was all really fun, really well done. I was honestly waiting for him to get shot. I'm glad he didn't. I thought it would be, again, in the back of my head, I'm like, they're not really gonna hurt this eagle. Let's be honest. Oh, another joke. What'd you think of the bird blindness thing?
I thought that was funny, and I liked, again, funny, but I think it was over-explained.
I agreed.
But that being said, I could even see, if I'm playing devil's advocate. We have a caller here. We'll get to that in a second. If we're playing devil's advocate, I did think that that it just being this long thing, that all these scenes being long, I did think it was funny that when the shit got real, like the sentence that he said was all of the different bits like strung together.
Yeah.
Like he called him by the nickname. He said, "I can't tell the size of this bird.
Yeah.
Damn my bird blind. Damn my bird blindness," or whatever. Like I thought that was funny that he was like, "Cupid doll, I'm sorry, it's my bird blindness." Damn. Like I did think it was funny the way
I did
his delivery on that. But yeah. All right, we do have a caller here. We got regular. Oh, and we just lost the caller. Oh, and we got it back. Caller, you want to mute and unmute yourself so I know that you are ready, and then we'll bring you in to give your thoughts on Peacemaker. All right, perfect. So we have Shelly joining us this week again on the show. Thank you so much for calling in. I see that we have 9 people watching us right now. We have a caller in right now, but you could be the next caller. Click the link in the live chat, and it'll bring you right into our studio. So make sure that you have your microphone on and your camera set to off. Shelly, are you with us?
Yeah, I was just having trouble with it on my phone for some reason, but I think I'm good.
No problem. All right. And what are your thoughts on Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 2?
And this is spoilers, right?
Yes, you go ahead and go full
Okay.
spoilers.
So I want to say it before anybody else does, and maybe you think I'm crazy, especially we're only on Episode 2, but since it was brought up for the first time finally about what happened to Rick Jr., any chances that the Peacemaker that got burned up could have been the one that killed Rick Flag Jr.?
In what way?
So it wouldn't actually be the Peacemaker we know and that is running around like who we know him to be. But yeah, and for all we know, because we are only on Episode 2, there could be more dimensions of them out there, and one of them could have been the one that killed Rick Flag Jr. Because now you got Senior going around trying to kill Chris or whatever he's going to do to him, because he knows now that he's the one who killed his son for whatever the reason. You know, I mean, he saw the video or, whatever. So he knows how it happened, and it was really self-defense. But at the same time, it's like, he's going to be pissed, you know? So the first thing I thought of when they went in and they were taking care of the body was, what if he was the one who did it? Or we're getting more Peacemakers in different places. I mean, we've got 10 more episodes to go. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel that in the end, it's not going to, because, people, I feel like it's got to be proven that our Chris is not the one that did it in the first place. And then that way he's kind of off the hook, and they have to convince Senior about it or something along those lines. But I feel like it's not going to be this Chris. I think it's going to be somebody else.
Yeah, or even if it was this Chris, and they just have to convince Flag that it was another one, and that's how Chris gets
out of it. Which would that'd be something that would happen as well.
Yeah. I would say if they're gonna switch it like that, I think they'd have to do a lot of gymnastics to make that work, because they've already mentioned in this episode, like Adebayo's like, oh yeah, you killed his son. He's like, oh yeah. They'd have to. I think they might have to retcon like.
But I could see him trying to blame it on one of the other ones just to get out.
No, that's definitely possible.
That would make more sense.
Blame for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think about? And TJ, I want to get your thoughts on too. This is kind of going off of what we said in the last episode. But Shelly, what are your thoughts on Keith's comment about Harcourt dating that jarhead? Do we think that Rick Flag Jr. could be alive on the other Earth, and not only alive, but dating Amelia Harcourt and possibly being in this show later on this season?
Very possible. I mean, there's a lot of Christines out there and different things in the MCU. Yeah. So obviously that's possible. I mean, it's just going to be like another version of Multiverse of Madness kind of process and everything. So, totally it could happen, Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. I felt like, boy, I was listening to you guys talking about sort of how the episode was shot this time, almost like he just put the camera there, especially for their like party and stuff. I'm telling you, Harcourt brought me so down. She's just so depressed that it was making me, I just couldn't. I was like, get her off the screen. It was just so hard. And then them having their interaction, you know, it just, the whole thing, it just was like, oh, come on, just bringing me down big time. But yeah, I mean, it's possible that just, you know, anything's possible with these dimensions and realms and portals and whatever that.
Yeah, he does say that there's 99 others.
Yeah, so who knows? You know, and it could be that there's more than her, you know, one her out there too, you know. So, but the one thing I wanted to say too was, you know, and it's going to take me days to get this out of my head. But you know how on TikToks or whatever, they'll ask, you know, what's the best fight scene you ever saw? What's the best car chase? Whatever. I always say John Wick, always. But it is now the Eagly fight on episode 2, season 2. That thing had me, it wasn't long, but it didn't need to be. And it was absolutely amazing. I'll tell you, I was screaming. I was like, oh no, when he pulled the eyeball. I'm like, why didn't I realize that something like that was going to happen? But the way that she kept coming back and just, you know, wailing on all of them, and that walk away, oh my God. How she just walked into the house and stuff, that was so amazing. That's like one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in my life. It was just so awesome, you know?
Yeah, I thought it was completely entertaining. Like that's the thing, is that, like TJ said earlier, it's like people can feel like overwhelmed with James Gunn's humor, or that it's like, you know, too many cooks will spoil the broth type of thing.
Yeah.
But then he makes up for it with the action and the heart infused with the action and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for calling in. Anything else on Peacemaker?
No, I was just going to say Tim Meadows was the worst SNL cast member. So there you go.
Oh my God. Even Steven's own. You heard it here first. All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Wow. Even Steven's own. Tim Meadows loves getting dragged right now. Is it because of the Even Stevens movie?
It honestly, it might be. I'm not exactly sure. I will say my favorite part of that fight was probably the dive bomb that she does at the end. I thought that was really funny.
That was great.
And what did you think of the Harcourt scene in the pharmacy?
I thought that was great, but I'll say again, the Beaker thing I think went too long. I think it was
I thought the Beaker thing was funny.
I thought it was funny, but I thought it was like a beat too long.
Yeah.
Also, I want to rewatch the episode just because I rewatched episode 1 the other day. And it was really good to refresh on it. So I might even honestly watch episode 2 that we're talking about right now, right after this. Just because episode 3 comes out tomorrow, which I'm equally excited for. But yeah, I thought the Beaker bit was hilarious. I just thought that it went on a beat too much. But even before the Beaker thing, I thought that scene was great with the lady that, you know, this poor woman, I'm like, you know, it's like this woman who clearly has been abused herself, thinks that she sees another, you know, victim in Harcourt, and, you know, Harcourt just basically verbally assaults her in the middle of this pharmacy. And then the Beaker moment happens, and then it closes out with that great moment where she looks at that help wanted sign, and she is like seriously considering it. She's buying chips off of the clearance table. And I think that it's very interesting that we are seeing this. And honestly, I'm saying this right now. I'm you're telling me for the first time. I'm thinking of this for just the first time now. You know, Chris likes to go to the other Earth because he's like, man, my life sure is nice over here, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think maybe Harcourt, if she knew that the other one was living this great, happy life, I could see Harcourt being like, I might want that for myself. You know what I mean? That would again be something that I feel like you'd have to lay a little more groundwork. Because right now it's like the other universe storyline, and then Harcourt is like over here. Like those two, like Adebayo knows about the door, Vigilante knows about the murder, and Harcourt doesn't know about any of it. Right. And then obviously Economos knows about everything. Yeah. So really, Harcourt is the only one of the group that is completely in the dark to what Chris is doing in the other universe, obviously, because he doesn't want her to know that he's thinking about, approaching this other version of her. But I'm only just thinking now about, they're really focusing on how much of a hard time Harcourt is having. And she could be looking for that escape just the same way that Chris is. What do you think about that? Do you think that we could
possible?
See? Yeah.
I don't know how you'd you'd have to kill the other Harcourt.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing is how desperate is she?
But also I do think it's interesting. They're going the way that clearly it's not all sunshines and roses on the other side either. She sent the text was a broken heart. So clearly there was some sort of issue with that world's Peacemaker before our Peacemaker killed him. So I'm interested to see what that is. I'm assuming that's going to be established in the next episode. But yeah,
wow. You really got me thinking with that. That might have been your best delivery of a little nugget ever on the show. Yeah, you were clearly everything's not that was just really well executed.
Maybe it could be something else. Maybe it'd be our friend died.
When you said that, I was like, oh, what does he mean by that? And then you said the emoji, and I went, wow, that's I was like, that is. What do you think about
I'll tell you what though. Yeah. That, real quick, even though the text thing that I mentioned did annoy me, the way I was able to write it off as well in my head is when she sent the broken heart, and in my head I went, "Oh, he deleted all the text. It was so bad that he just deleted all the text he had with."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah, I
so that was a way I was like, okay, maybe I could make sense of it. But again, that's headcanon I'm making up. That I don't know if that's what happened.
Yeah. So you talked about last week and totally blew me away with that, with the I just assumed that they were good, but now you said it, and then almost everything that I've watched or listened to about it is they're all oh, so they're pieces of shit still, right? And I'm I guess I just completely missed those signs the first time. But I heard, I don't remember what it was on. It could have been Geek Buddies, could have been something else. What if it's not so much that, oh, well, on this earth they're still racist and they're just better at hiding it. What if the whole world is racist? And it's not that they're better at hiding it, it's just they're living in a world where it's accepted.
Yeah, that's possible.
And that got me thinking, and I was like, wow. And then what a great way to put Chris in a kind of a political dilemma in his own mind of maybe he doesn't even realize it at first. Maybe it's so subtle, or he's just so used to having grown up with that it's maybe he doesn't even realize it. And then he has this moment where they're Chris, come on, put your hood on. What? You know what I mean? That's the moment where he's like, oh, I gotta get the hell out of here. But also, what does that mean for Keith? Because now, does that mean that I think it would. Do you think I'm right in saying that because the Keith in our world was kind of Chris's escape, right? Think back to that scene where they're sitting next to their beds and Keith is doing the air guitar and teaching Chris how to do the air guitar. And he's or he's teaching him this. He's teaching him the rock on. And he's like, isn't that the devil? And he's like, no, man, that's rock and roll.
Yeah.
And he's this cool older brother that Chris loves so much. I feel like this Keith, just based on James Gunn and how these things kind of go and how he likes to bring that sentimental attachment, I think even if there is something up on this earth, I think that maybe Keith doesn't know about it. Or that Keith will remain a good guy in Chris's mind. You know what I mean? I just feel that way. Could be totally wrong. He could be the worst one of any of them.
Yeah.
But I just feel because Chris didn't like that life that his dad was a part of, and neither did Keith. They both didn't like it. And, I'm thinking back to the finale of season 1 when all the people in the hoods come out of the woods Chris is like, he's booking it. He's not like, oh, it's Uncle Ronnie. He's like, oh my God, these people are crazy. And my dad is the leader of them.
Yeah.
He doesn't just disapprove of what his dad does. He like is petrified of it. So I think it'd be very interesting, but I do think that is interesting to be like, well, maybe this is a world where maybe it's only white people or something like that. Maybe it's a world where racism doesn't exist because everybody's white or so, it could be anything. And this is DC Comics. There's a world where the Nazis won. That could be this world. That could be Earth X.
And I was just thinking to myself too, like, oh, maybe it's a world where, and I think this is harder to swing just because of what we've seen so far. But like, oh, it's a world where Peacemaker is actually the bad guy, and it's maybe his dad and his brother are more kind of the good, the better people and the heroes per se. But then again, I feel like we've seen like pictures of them all chummy together in the house and all that stuff. So I feel like it'd be kind of harder to swing, and just their interactions as well. But yeah, I do think that is an interesting theory that I would not put past. I think James Gunn for putting that. Sure. There's definitely there, and I something it's not going to be it's not going to be a utopia world. Okay, there's going to be something that is wrong. I can't imagine that there isn't.
Yeah,
like I would be shocked if it was just this perfect world that they were living in. But maybe we'll have to wait to find out. I did see Travis Mitchell's comment about the Bizarro thing. I think that could be an interesting idea to kind of turn it all around, tie it back together. I do think that you'd be kind of limiting yourself if you were to do that, as far as just, I would like, there's multiple universes out there, right? So I think kind of putting Bizarro in this one, I think might be a tad limiting per se.
Or even just saying that this is where like the black hole led or something like that.
Yeah.
Although I totally get, Travis, I totally get where your thinking is on that, because, they've already in the first 2 episodes of this show pretty much explicitly linked the quantum unfolding thing with the Luthor events, because Rick Flag is like, and it's the same energy signature as in the Luthor incident in Metropolis. So they 100% have linked that. It's like, yes, the pocket dimension, this door, it's all some sort of a parallel multiversal travel, the same kind of energy sequence or signature. So I could see that, being a possibility, or maybe if it's not Bizarro, maybe it's just a, kind of like to talk about the high evolutionary, kind of like a counter Earth, there's Earth X. There's so many different Earths where things went bad. There's just straight up Earth 3, which is where the actual Ultraman from the comics is from, and of course the name of the team is escaping me, but basically the crime syndicate. The Crime Syndicate of America, which is Ultraman, and it's all these, it's Clark and it's Bruce and everything, but as if they became these big villains on this team, and that the Justice League exists, but instead of fighting crime, they do crime. It could even be that, and that Earth is just simply called Earth 3 in the comics. It's Earth 1's the main one, Earth 2's the second, and then the third Earth is like the one where everybody's evil. Just not affiliated with Nazis, because that's Earth X is the Nazi one. But yeah, I literally, that's part of the beauty of why, it's like, jokes be damned, I need to know what happens next in this show, because it's just it's so good, and there is so much. We're going into episode 3, and I feel like the scope is still this wide. It could go anywhere. I don't feel like any storyline is pigeonholed. I don't feel like anything is limited right now. There's really no telling where it's going to go. Kind of like with season 1, where we didn't know what the butterflies were. We didn't really know how the shape of the season was going to look until it unfolded for us. So I'm really excited. And despite, I think, some dialogue and a couple of, jokes, stumbling out of the gate, I think this was another, really great episode and really fun episode of the show. But TJ, anything left to say on Peacemaker season 2, episode 2? Anything that I am forgetting? What was the post-credit scene? Oh, it was more of
it was just more of the Economos.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know there was a scene until I was watching a review and they said there was a scene. I was like, oh, I didn't know. And it's really just like added
more of the
dialogue.
bird
I was like, that I don't need.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I agree. I thought it was a solid episode again, except for the stuff we touched on, which is mostly dialogue based. It just kind of felt like it either went on too long or was a lot of place or it was just, a little too much in that moment. I did just have a thought. Like, I think if there is anything wrong with this world, I think it might be like a situation where maybe as we've seen, like, it seems like this is kind of Chris's coping mechanism, right? So he's not like kind of having orgies or drinking. Well, he's still drinking and that stuff, but he comes to that world to feel like he's in a better place. And maybe it's like he comes in and it's like something's happened. Like he walks in on something, kind of like, I'm going to visit, my brother and my dad. And he walks in and it's something terrible. And maybe that's when he's like, oh, this isn't much better than
this is not good.
Right.
Do you think it'll be something where they have to go in and get him out, or do you think it's going to be something where somehow he's going to get stuck there? Like, do we think that somehow Argus is going to like shut the portal or something? Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think it could be a stuck situation.
Yeah. And then it's like, well, you didn't have your eyes open to what was wrong with this place, and now you're stuck in it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even like he just likes it so much he doesn't want to leave.
Right. There's also that too. Yeah, that would be very interesting. Not out of the question for sure, but that would be very interesting to see if it's like, does he lose all the progress that he's been working so hard on?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like he's working on himself and he's becoming a better person since season 1, but is that only because he kind of likes the challenge of, well, can I push myself to be a better person? If he's in this world where everything is coming easy to him, maybe he's like, well, I don't really have to give a shit anymore. It's like, I think that would be interesting. And then what happens if, he goes to live with this Harcourt or goes to be with this Harcourt, and what if he messes it up just as bad as the other Peacemaker did,
Right.
And I think that that's all possibility in Peacemaker season. Going back to Peacemaker, and then we'll say this last thing and then we'll go back over to that. Imagine Boomerang is alive in that universe, would love him back. Yeah, honestly, to me, this is like, this is not Marvel. So they don't have to there's no predetermined lore of glitching or I'm in this universe and I'm going to turn into spaghetti and I'm going to cause an incursion. Seemingly he can just go over and just live there. So would that also mean that anyone can come and live in the actual mainline DCU? You know what I mean? Could you see this as, well, if her boyfriend is Rick Flag Jr., is this a way to get Joel Kinnaman fully back in the DCU? Could he just come back through the door and just permanently stay there or something like that? I've been thinking that a lot, Travis, is, it's just a really interesting way you can kind of bring back anybody this method, which obviously is kind of the trap of the multiversal stories. But